Wait for it. And we're live. Hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans. It's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans, the stabby chaos coordinator, and one chief shenanigator geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space excuse me, is the place. It's allergy season. Sorry about that. I tried to hold it in a little bit, but we are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves to our listeners if you're at home, starting with Madam Chloe Garner.
Hello, I am Chloe Garner. I am the authoress of multiple sprawling, out-of-control universes and all speculative fiction known to mankind except lit RPG, and that's because I just haven't gotten brave enough.
Okay, not brave enough. If you were to write a lit RPG, what kind of lit RPG would you write?
Okay, honestly, so I actually engaged with this for a hot minute where they were doing a lit RPG anthology, and I'm like, I could do a lit RPG in an existing universe and just take the IP from the existing universe and turn it into a video game. And I was way down the road, and it's borderline horror demon smashing.
Nice. I'd read it.
Yep, it would have been a lot of fun. I'm just not that brave.
What's scary about it that you're not brave enough to try?
I don't play tabletop. I just don't have the chops to pull it off as a convincing participant in the culture.
Yeah, and if you grew up on, like I did, on like the RPGs on computer games or Xbox, in my case, PlayStation, all the math and mechanics happen behind the scenes, so you don't always see it.
Yeah.
And you kind of
played Baldur's Gate all the way through at the hardest level and like fully completionist and stuff, but I these are people that they know each other, and I respect that too much.
That's fair. I mean, Jarrett and I, we go farther back. We played Leapfrog and Frogger in Pong back in the day. So, all right. The funny thing about Pong is a little bit of trivia that I find amusing. The fact that it speeds up every cycle you go through it was not intentional. It was an accidental error in coding. And by the time they realized it, they're like, no, people think we did it on purpose, and they like that it gets harder. We're leaving
with it at that point.
The original feature, not a bug.
Right. I watched it.
And it set that up as an expectation for future games that take advantage of that, make it harder by make it faster. Keep going.
Yeah. I watched an interview of some of the creators of the original arcade games, and I was like, wait, you didn't do that on purpose? That's kind of cool. It's like where you trip on the banana peel and somehow do a perfect backstand or something, crazy, like on a comic book, right? Like, but in real life, and they made money at it, so even better. Mm-hmm. All right, next we have Madam Jenna S. Brown, who sometimes cosplays as Jenna Ray. Could you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers at home?
Well, I'm not sure how many of you need an introduction anymore since I kind of live here, but I'll give it to you anyway. I'm Jenna S. Brown. I write under the pen name Jenna Ray. That's for all the fantasy, urban fantasy, science fiction, and anything that falls under a generally speculative umbrella lives. I have other pen names, but we don't talk about them on this show, except for when JR tries to give me crap about them. But, between the two of us, I'm meaner than he is.
Which is like all the time.
Yeah, it's basically all the time. But that's okay.
It's a feature, not a bug.
Exactly. We're back to that. I'm the chief shenanigator around here, which mostly means I'm here to give JR grief. So that's it's a benefit.
All right. And next we have returning guest of the show who's been frequent enough that I ought to just include him as one of our regulars at this point. But we got Jarrett Keene, author, professor, man of the peanut butter coffee. You will live this down someday. Not today, but someday.
Yes. You can find me here in Las Vegas writing my books. Currently, I'm writing a superhero horror trilogy set in 1980s Las Vegas called Breakers, and that'll be out in August. But meantime, I'm just getting ready for my fall semester.
You're going to have to come back and talk about that series when it goes live.
Absolutely.
Once you have
hiding from the heat, because it's warm down there already.
And once you've got the cover art, we can book it and have it ready to launch on launch day, because that should be fun. So you have tried peanut butter and coffee, which means we know you like to put weird things in drinks. So given that I'm from the South, have you ever tried to put your peanuts in your Coca-Cola beverages?
Oh, absolutely. It's a rite of passage. Yes.
Okay.
Even in Florida, where I'm from, we pull that stunt and others.
Okay. All right, just checking. You're giving us funny looks, Jana. Have you not tried this?
No.
If you ever come to Virginia, we're going to hook you up. Like, you're going to try all the cool things.
I do not want to put peanuts in Coca-Cola.
Called adulterating it.
Yeah, there are things that I will mix in a cola, but not peanuts.
I remember it tasting good, but I also, don't trust my taste buds from when I was 10, so maybe it tasted
You
good.
also drank suicides at the McDonald's.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
for those of
taste
you
buds.
who don't know, when you used to have where you could just walk up and make your own drink, the suicides were what you called it when you mixed a little bit of everything and just hope it came out okay. And the grosser, the better, because it got you cool points with your friends.
Mm-hmm.
Because boys will pay each other to eat stupid things.
We
Yes,
will.
they will.
We will. When I was overseas, we paid a guy to eat a dung beetle, and he did.
Ooh.
He made
I'm not even
$1,000
surprised.
that day because we all put money on it. We didn't think he'd do it. So, $20
he
is
didn't
$20, as they say.
He didn't even deep fry it?
No, he ate it fresh. We were given the guy running the range was a African American Green Beret officer, and I'm colorblind, and even I could tell he turned green and puked when he watched this guy eat a dung beetle from the source.
Yeah,
But he earned that $1,000. Come to think of it, we haven't heard from him in a couple of years. Maybe it caught up with him.
Stranger things have happened.
Yes, young men will do stupid things just because someone dared them.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably
It's
why
true.
women live longer.
Yeah, it's also why at a certain point, as when you are associated with those young men and you are the woman in their life, you decide that there are certain things that you didn't see it and you don't want to know about it. What happens on Fathers and Sons stays at Fathers and Sons as long as nobody loses an eyeball or comes back burnt. And other than that, I don't want to know. They
say
were
that's-
happy. It's good for them.
They say the most dangerous thing for an old man is still thinking he's a young man, and there's some truth to that. Because when we were young, we did lots of really, really dumb things. So, all right, this is the part where we get the religion questions, and we're going to mix it up a little bit, themed to the episode today. But are you guys ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
All right, Westworld, Alias, Nikita, or The Pretender? Jarrett.
Oh, my goodness. It's been a while, but we're talking about La Femme Nikita, right? Yeah.
Nikita is the because they were all Joss Whedon or themed along the lines of what Dollhouse was.
Oh, right.
And let me check.
La Femme Nikita was the movie, and then they did a spin-off television series.
Yeah,
that was called
Nikita is the
Nikita
character, and she's featured in the title, whatever version of it you're looking at.
Yeah,
Nikita is what I'm most familiar with. I'm gonna have.
It was put out by the CW and USA/USA.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that character. I love that world. I love that universe.
Okay. All right. What about you, Chloe?
I'm gonna have to go with Nikita as well. The storytelling was really good. The acting was really strong. I liked the male leads in that a lot, which not all of the strong female lead shows have a really good male lead who pulls it off, and they really did. And they also really embraced the nerd, who, if I'm not mistaken, is the same character, the same actor as in Dollhouse.
Might be.
But I did have a problem with Maggie Q throwing men around by doing somersaults around their necks. The physics just never really worked out for me, and I had to pretend like those scenes didn't happen that way.
I mean, there were other series that did that, and it worked in the 90s with like Xena, but she had magic, so you could get away with a lot.
And Xena is a woman of structure and formidability.
Yes. Because it's not that throw doesn't work, but it's exactly what you're saying.
Maggie Q she's a Christmas wreath.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Jana?
Oh, I'm gonna have to make it 3 for 3 because Nikita's the property that I'm most familiar with, and I liked it as a movie, and I liked the few bits that I saw when they put it out on WB. It's been a long day, so we're gonna work on this whole vocalizing thing. What about you, JR?
Yeah, I really liked Nikita as well. Although Alias was a good one too. It's about the spy, female spy, and I dug that one as well. It wasn't as solid a story as the others. It was a little too tropey and not enough, I don't know, believability. Strange to consider in shows like this, but I liked of the two of those, Nikita a little bit better than Alias. But they were both good as far as that goes. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Nikita as well.
It's a full sweep.
Yeah, I just mixed it up a little bit. So, all right, and because we are polytheistic here at the Blasters and Blades podcast, and Dollhouse is a Joss Whedon property, so it is in the Whedonverse. Which one of Joss Whedon's property would you want to live inside, Jared?
Well, I love Buffy. I love stories set in and around high school campuses, and I don't know. I like the characters of that storyline very much. So I would have to say more than Avengers or Firefly. I would say, yeah, I want to go back there. I want to hang out with Buffy and the gang.
Okay. What about you, Chloe?
Okay, so the way that this question went down, specifically with where would I want to live, like there's no Whedon place in the world that you actually want to live. That's sort of his brand. So it doesn't matter how fantastic the characters are and how elaborate and wonderful the settings are and all of that stuff. I'm going to go live in Much Ado About Nothing, my friend. Because I don't want to live in Sunnydale.
So I'm going to answer because while Jana knits over there, and I'm going to tell you that Buffy could work as a franchise, Buffy and Angel, because you just have to get far away from Sunnydale and then just be a normal human, and it'd basically be like living now. So it's probably safer in that respect. But as far as if I want to go out in a blaze of glory, like I'm going to Firefly. I'm going to fight with the Browncoats, and we're going to win this time.
Remember that old man, young man thing that you just said?
Yes, but if I'm going to die anyway, I'm going to go out blazing. I'm just saying. Right?
So noted.
And you don't have to run if you're a good shot. There's that old saying, you can run, but you'll just die tired. I mean, I'm sure I could learn a blaster. It's not that different than a ballistic chemical propellant, I'm sure. Or at least that's what I'm telling myself. Right? I was in infantry. I was in SDM. I can shoot. We got this.
Yeah, the idea of a blaster only came up once or twice in that show anyway. Most of it was standard ordnance.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I think I can handle that. So I'm going to say if I decide to be a wimp, I'm going to Buffy because I just move away from those areas. But if I want to go out gloriously, I'm going to Firefly. What about you, Jana?
Well, that's again the way that the question is put together. I don't think that it's a cheat to say, well, I just wouldn't live in Sunnydale. The whole
That's
point
fair, and I'm not above cheating though. So
you have to live within that section of the universe, which means I am with Chloe. I don't want to live in any of them because I would die messily, or I'd have to kill things messily, and then I'd have to get the blood stains out, and it just leads to all sorts of things. So at that point, Much Ado is a much funner place to hang out.
Is that a show he did? I'm not familiar with that one.
Oh, JR.
Okay, can I tell the story? I love the story.
Tell the story.
I love the story. Okay, so it was an anniversary present from his wife because she knew that he wanted to film Much Ado About Nothing, and he had like all of his favorite actors come over and sit around a fire pit in the backyard and read Shakespeare. This is a thing that they did.
Yep.
And so, like, she's like, "Okay, you can shoot it here in a weekend, but that's all you get." So he actually shot it at his house with his wife's permission as an anniversary present to himself.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody he called, he was like, "Hey, do you want to?" And they're all like, "Yes, I don't care what it is. Yes, I want to." And the girl who was cast as the lead was this completely one-off random extra that he cast in Avengers. And the only direction he ever gave her was turn around and look at the camera as though the world has just ended. And on the back of that one unspoken shot, she got the lead in Much Ado About Nothing in a Joss Whedon production.
And that was released to the public, the one that they filmed that as surprise on a weekend?
Absolutely. It's in black and white. It's absolutely beautiful. It's amazing.
Fantastic.
I have it on DVD.
I mean, I'm familiar with the Shakespeare play. I just didn't know Whedon made the version of it. Okay. Is it worth reviewing for this podcast? Does it fit any of our criteria to do it?
It's a Shakespearean comedy, and it doesn't have any speculative element at all, I don't think.
No, I don't think we can justify it because, again, I mean, if we're doing Shakespeare, we could do Midsummer's Nights, we could do several of them, but Much Ado is it's a romantic comedy. It's fantastic. But it would not fit our brand, unfortunately, unless you think that we're wrong, dear listeners. So if enough of you come to the comments and clamor for us to do Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing, I can speak. I really, really can. I promise. Then we will make it happen. But otherwise, it's kind of off brand for us.
We could pretend that they're all nuns on Mars, right?
We
Yeah.
could do that, but all right, keep rolling.
Because we are civilized human beings here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. We are no longer knuckle dragging troglodytes. I'm going to ask you, coffee or tea, and how do you take it in the hot summer while you're watching awesome Dollhouse episodes? Jana, you're going to surprise me. I know it. You're going to break trend today.
Oh, I'm really not. I'm sticking with my Diet Dr. Pepper. It is hot out here. I'm in Utah, so not that far off from where Jared is. And we've hit summertime, and it's 90s and 100s all the time. And so it is lots and lots of ice, lots of water, and lots of Diet Dr. Pepper with lime and coconut in it.
Every time you say that, I hear it singing in my head.
I do it on purpose.
All right. So, Jarrett, what about you? What are you drinking?
Oh, definitely iced coffee. Lots of it with maybe some sugar-free mandarin orange syrup in there. Oh boy, yeah, just a little bit.
Okay. All right. Chloe, you're going to surprise me too and go off brand?
You ready? Okay. So the Coke is here in my hand because that is the correct thing to be drinking. But there does come a point where it's so hot that the sugar in the Coke is just not helping. It is counterproductive. And what I have discovered in the last 4 weeks, JR and I discussed it here recently, is that I really, really like super sweet dessert wine, where I fill the glass all the way to the top with ice and then pour wine on it just as much as fits. And that's actually a really nice summer evening drink.
Mm-hmm. And that episode was actually will be airing tomorrow as we record this, but it'll be a while between the two, just because of the production schedule. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting. So obviously, I drank my my coffee with French vanilla creamer, French vanilla syrup, and sugar-free, obviously, and milk. Either hot or cold, because now I don't put ice in it. I just put it in the fridge and prep it a day in advance. I used to put the ice that was made of coffee. So I had coffee ice in my iced coffee. So even when my iced coffee melted and got watery, the water was iced coffee. And so it became a thing. But that's a pain in the butt to make. And, you don't know how much the world around you moves until you're trying to carry an ice tray to the freezer, old school style. And I'm like, if I just made it in advance and stuck it in the fridge, I don't have to do any of this nonsense. So that's what I do now. But I have also, because it is the heat of the summer when we're recording this in June, I've been making myself experiment with making sun tea, and I surprisingly like it, although I'm still trying to perfect the recipe of the right sugar ratio, so it's, balancing the healthy with the saturation requirements of the chemistry, and if you put too much, you will know because it will feel gritty in your mouth. So there's a science to it. And I know I could cheat and ask Claude or Chat GPT or Gemini or whatever, because I know people that use that for recipes, but that just takes the fun out of the experiment for me. So I'm just trying my own attempts at sun tea, and so far none have been perfect, but they have not been. I've got to dump it out because the ones that were too sweet, I just add more tea to it, and it neutralizes it. So, and you can always add more tea later. So. Or you can add more sugar later, I should say. So for me, it's been sun tea. What about you, dear listener? What do you drink when you get real hot and sweaty in the summer? I'm sure you're going to mix it up and tell us all kinds of nutritious and delicious things like bourbon, because I get those letters too from our listeners. But it's for science, the bourbon, I mean, of course.
Right.
All right, so obviously we are going to pause for a moment while we shamelessly shuffle the woman with this commercial, because I don't want to get interrupted once we start talking about the show. And we're opinionated peoples, and we've got opinions we want to share. So in the meantime, we're going to air this commercial. Boom.
Helena Davies just wants a job that will let her move out of her parents' house. Instead, by the end of her first day at Abernathy's bookstore, she has a dead boss in the basement and the news that she is now a part of an endless magical war. Abernathy's is the world's only living oracle, and Helena is now its custodian. Without any training, she must navigate her new world and find a place for herself within it. But there's still a murderer on the loose, and Helena might be next on his list. In the Book of Secrets, first in the completed series The Last Oracle, follow Helena on her journey of discovery, from learning the secrets of the Oracle to falling in love. Available at nightharborpress.com or your favorite online retailer.
All right, thank you for sticking with us through that commercial interlude. So does that have an audiobook, Jana? Because that does sound kind of cool.
Yes. That
yeah.
whole series, it's a 9-book series, and there's audio for all of it. And it's pretty good audio, too. It's not quite as good as Talon, who did her War Master series, because Talon is just freaking amazing, but it is still a very, very good narration.
Okay, I'll have to check it out, and we'll see what we do. I don't think we've talked with her about that one, so we might have to get that one on the books once she's finished moving back to America.
Yeah, absolutely.
And with that, obviously, dear listener, we're here to talk about the Dollhouse series, which was directed by Joss Whedon. It's considered science fiction, thriller, psychological thriller, cyberpunk, and drama as the series go. We don't know the budget or the box office because that didn't really apply, and they don't track that for TV shows in the same way. So if that information is out there, I don't know how to find it. It was 2 seasons of 26 episodes and about 45 minutes each episode as far as it goes without the commercials. It was released on February 13th, 2009 and ran through January 29th, 2010. So for the 2 seasons, it was aired on was Fox Entertainment, and it was distributed by Mutant Enemy Productions and 20th Century Fox. And for the ad copy, the main tagline ad copy for the Dollhouse series was "They can be anyone you want." Other notable taglines were "You can wipe away the memory, but you can't wipe away a soul?" ? And "She can be anyone except herself," which is often used for season 2. And then for attempts at viral marketing, because it was the 2010s and that's just what you do, they had what they called doll play, get your minds out of the gutter, which was just a picture of Eliza Dushka, who was played Echo, surrounded by blank, unfaced mannequins. So they had heads, they just didn't have like faces on the heads. And then the trailers identifying the identity swapping concept. So did you think those ad copies, is that going to make you interested? Because I'm not feeling that. I like the show, just I didn't think this was the best ad copy I've ever seen.
It's fair, but go ahead, Chloe.
It leaves out what they're going to do with the premise, which is what's entertaining about the plot.
And we often get where we feel like the trailers and the ads went too far one direction, over-explaining. This one overcorrected the other direction. I'm like, I got no idea what this is about. I mean, Eliza Dushka's a nice-looking young woman at the time. I don't know how old she is now. But, like, that's not enough to make me want to watch something if there's no plot. I mean, that'll get you an episode, maybe 2, not 26. So,
I think a lot of what they were leaning on there was the following that Joss Whedon already had from Buffy and Angel, and the fact that you were taking the actress who played Faith, who was very, very popular in the Buffyverse, enough that she did cross over to Angel, and saying, now we're doing a whole series around this person. So a lot of their advertising was kind of already built in because they had an audience, and that was the primary audience that was going to immediately jump to this. And then everything else was for, well, who else can we scrape up that isn't this audience that doesn't already know? So I think the marketing suffers for that because they already had a target.
So they were lazy marketing, and it shows.
There's probably some truth to that.
All right, now we're going to watch the. Oh, go ahead, Jarrett.
Well, I mean, we're going to watch the trailer, but the marketing does the tags there. The ad copy points to a challenge that Dollhouse presents the viewer, which is I mean, we'll get into it with the trailer, I guess, but you know, you're not really her missions vary wildly, and so it's difficult to kind of pin down exactly what the character does, what active is capable of and wants to do, and you know, there's no agency. In other words, overall, there's no overarching agency until much later in season 2.
Yeah. All right. So this is the trailer that was around. It is not the best quality because it's somebody, it looks like filming it themselves, but it was all we could find. You don't tend to see as much commercials like this for TV shows, but here it is, and then we'll talk about it.
Nothing is what it appears to be. I'm talking about a clean slate.
You ever try and clean an actual slate? You always see what was on it before.
In their resting state, our actives are as innocent and vulnerable as children. Now imagine creating a new personality, a friend, a lover. And when the engagement has been completed, all memory of you and your time together will be wiped clean.
She's living the dream.
Whose dream? You telling me you programmed one of your dolls to be Jack the Ripper?
Echo's on task. Your little brainchild just backfired.
From the mastermind that brought you Buffy, Firefly, and Angel. Another massive Fox 8 Australian exclusive.
Do you think the Dollhouse really exists? I know it does.
Dollhouse starts Tuesday, June 9 after Top Model, Fox 8.
All right. So that is the commercial. Did it do it for you?
I love
ahead,
the
Chloe.
show. I remember existing through it and having a really good time with the premise, the story of the week. Like, shoot, I've forgotten the name of the show. He fixes a problem and then teleports through time to go fix somebody else's
Quantum Leap.
life. Say it again.
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Yes,
That'd be another good one to talk about.
it has a quantum leap sort of a feel to it where she just goes and steps into a life and exists in it for a time and then everything goes on without her. And you have sort of this arc that's going on in the background where other characters are evolving, but the structure of it where she's incapable of evolving makes that really challenging. And the fact that her missions are relatively insubstantial, many of them. They have a beginning and the end and an end, but it's not got the quantum leap. We're going in because there's something that needs to happen here. It's just some stuff happens to her, and I'm recognizing the structural challenges that this premise has to work under that are going to make anything other than Eliza Dushku is amazing a really challenging premise to carry the show.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Jarrett?
No, I just think that looking at it, I'm trying to remember what I thought of these ads, these commercials. I really couldn't get a bead on what her role was, what the mission was, and I think that kind of nebulous. That nebulous position as an activist, as someone who's going to jump around and do various missions. I think that's just a little too much for the audience to take on. I was thinking about other shows from this era, like Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Those are much more like a puzzle within a puzzle. The mystery deepens and you get sucked in because the little bit of information is revealed over the course of however long the episodes are. But here, a lot is revealed very early on in the very first episode, and it's a lot to take in. And so I just think they really presented something that was not. It was almost like Charlie's Angels, but super developed, super intellectual, super. The budget on this thing is great. I mean, it just feels like $1 million. It looks good, and it has so many. I don't know. It has many refined qualities.
Okay. Janet, you got any thoughts?
It's an interesting commercial. It brings up a lot of questions and that kind of thing. My problem is that on the other side of it, I'm dissatisfied because the commercial makes promises that I don't think that the show was about. Because the commercial has that feel of she can become anybody, which means that there's a unifying reason for that, like Quantum Leap, that there's a reason that she's going to be all of these people and it links into something bigger. And it really doesn't. She is these people because that's what somebody else ordered up. And the question is the morality of letting people become what's ordered up, not that there is no connection between why she becomes each of these people. And so that's something where I think that the commercial plants the idea of, well, she can become all these things and there's a reason for it, when that's not really the premise of the show.
And it also kind of teases an Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind kind of a vibe where you can go and make yourself happy by erasing things. And that's not even close to what's going on here. There's a place where you can erase a slate. And yeah, that is part of the sales package that they give her to bring her in. But it's not related to any of the content that they're going to discuss. They have a lot of really interesting conversation about identity. What is your identity without your memories, without your own agency? And we have identity running around. We have relationships that happen, and they're really interesting questions and conversation. And they completely skip over who are you, if not the sum of your experiences.
Yeah, and that's one of the questions whenever anybody says, if you could do this over again, would you? And that's always my answer. I mean, we're all the product of the choices we made along the way. So if we made different decisions, are we still us? And so it's an interesting. There was some without getting too artsy fartsy, we'll save that for the English classes that Jarrett teaches. But there were some deeper themes that I thought were nicely covered in the show. And some that I remember liking at the time, and that's hot, whatever. It was the 2010s. I was a lot younger then, 10 years younger at least. And now I look back at it, my kids are older. That makes a difference in how I view the world. And I'm like, some of that's kind of creepy.
Yeah. And we'll get into more of that, I think, when we talk about plot and that kind of thing. But
yeah, absolutely.
I agree. And I do. I mean, the one concept, just going off the thing you just said, that I did like is kind of this idea of being able to still be all of you in a younger body. Because that's my response when people go back and say, do you want to be 17 again? And I'm like, I absolutely want the body I had when I was 17, because it did not crack, crunch, ache, none of those things. I was in the best shape of my life. I was running around at 14% body fat, and it was a beautiful thing in that 17 to 19 range. But I want all of the brains and all of the personality and things that I've developed now, because I worked way too hard to get here. I don't want to redo 17. I just want that body. And they do kind of play with that concept of, if you can put your personality into these blank slates, you kind of get this immortality, and you can re-experience things with the wisdom and whatever else you have as a grown-up in a body that works a whole lot better. But anyway, moving right along.
Okay. So obviously, that was the show. I'm going to throw up, because they didn't really have movie posters. But I'm going to throw up the cover image that they used for the box set that I thought was worth looking at. But while we're doing that, did you guys watch this when it first came out?
I think it was close. I don't think that it was right as. but I'm trying to remember other elements of my personal timeline. I feel like it was within the 2 or 3 years of when this was released that we watched it all the way through.
So these are some of the art that's that we see from the show that was on various ads, posters, etc. And then, of course, this one. But again, it other than you've got her looking pretty. This is the doll play one where you see the mannequins don't really have faces.
Yeah.
But other than we're looking at her being attractive, like it doesn't really tell you anything. Even this one just shows there's going to be an action movie,
right? Which it isn't always. It and a lot of their marketing around it kind of played action adventure kind of thing, and that there was action adventure to it, but that's not what it was about. And so I think it was a really hard subject to give to a marketing team and say, okay, figure out, besides people who like Joss Whedon and everything else that he's done, who's the target audience and how do we appeal to them with this really kind of esoteric concept? And so they ended up in the, sexy and kind of mysterious and action oriented because that was what they knew about that audience.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, with that out of the way, let's talk about the show. So, I actually watched this when it came out, and I remember really, really liking it. Back when I was DVRing things, it wasn't like you could binge watch it on whatever. Now, this isn't available for actual viewing. I actually had to buy the box set to watch it for this series, but it floats in and out. It floats in and out of various streaming platforms, so it is out there. But I remember liking it when it came on. I remember hating the delay between seasons and thinking the ending sucked. But mostly because it didn't feel like an ending to me. I know other people, that was one of the common praises of the show, was that it felt like it gave them closure, but I did not walk away feeling that way. So
I don't remember the story. I believe that there was a story around the way that the show ended that was commercial rather than creative.
Yeah.
But I remember the impression that it was rushed, that there were supposed to be 4 or 5 more seasons to get to that final episode or 2. And they weren't going to give him any more time to do it. So he just told the ending of the story and left out all of the middle bits. And that's how it feels. It feels jerked and rushed and non sequitur. Even none of these things lead to that, other than with a complete nihilism for what people are like.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's do this. I hinted at in our discussions that it had some deeper themes in the show. So we've talked about what it is. The basic premise is people, for whatever reason, end up in the dollhouse where their memory and personality is wiped down to nature versus nurture, tabula rasa, and they're just blank slates that then get programmed with various personalities that are rented out by people with lots of money. And then, new personality every episode. I will say that the actors that were main characters as dolls, the actives, they call them, like Echo, November, Sierra, like having to be a different person for every episode. I imagine as actresses and actors, they felt really enjoyable because it was different every time. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't stale for them creatively. But that's the basic premise of the show, is they're blank slate and their bodies are rented out to fill these personality types and go on these adventures, we'll call them, which often involved really, really wealthy people having romantic interludes.
Which is taking on a real morality problem right off the top of the bat, because that kind of thing is it's a consent issue, it's an abuse issue, it's all of those kinds of things. And they touch on those things. They do not go very deeply into them because it's hard to go very deeply into them and still keep the nature of the show that they wanted without it getting super dark. But we do deal with, what happens when somebody wants to keep a doll and is not nice to them. And that's kind of a hard thing, because how do you give consent when that's not who you are, and when you come back and it all gets erased, you no longer have those memories of what happened to you? It's a dark topic, and it's disturbing.
before we even get to that part of the consent on the individual rentals, as we'll call it, it's not clear from the beginning when the way Eliza joins her character Echo, and I can't remember her name from before, but when
Caroline.
she joined Caroline, it does not look like she was joining entirely willingly. The implication was she was some sort of activist. Maybe somebody got hurt on the protest, and she was sort of given a go to war, go to jail kind of option, Methuselah's bargain, as it were, Faustian even, right? Like, it does not sound, just from the little bit we get, that she was entirely willing to start with. And so even from the jump, I mean, like, you can make one argument if they know what they're getting and they consent anyway to get them there.
Yeah. And there's
But that's
another
not
doll that has a dark past like that, where she's put into the system by the man who's abusing her, and then he tries to pull her back out later, and she ends up killing him.
And then there's
That whole thing is, but yeah, going into the dollhouse is not, you're not always.
And then you get the ones that are running from trauma that they just don't want to face.
Yeah.
There were hints that some of them, like maybe, extreme loss kind of thing, and they just wanted the world to pause for a little bit. But I don't know. That's an interesting question, because by putting life on pause, do you really delay anything? Because when they come back, they're still them. The life they still had there, it's like they never left, unless they give them implanted memories to cover the gap.
Well, what
Which
you have
could
is
probably be part of
resources.
Mhm.
What's that?
What you have is resources. So if you don't have the capacity to deal with something that's going on in your life, because everything is hand to mouth every day.
Yeah, but
coming
so
out.
the other issue is it's unclear what they're getting on the other end, other than that 5 years that they signed supposedly your contract. And given the way bodies were dropping, like, we're not even sure how many of them make it out the other side alive, between the missions with the Alpha, the crazies, the people renting them, and then of course, everything else, and the attic. Like, how many of them really lived to see the end of the contract? It kind of gave me the vibe of, if you know the history of the indentured servant, sure, in 7 years you're free, you can get this land, and you pay. How many of them lived to get that land? Not many.
Yeah. Well, and the process of getting the memories in and out never looked gentle.
No,
It was like that doesn't look good either. And what happens when they screw up? I mean, there's got to be a number of them that just didn't survive that continual, because you think about any kind of computer thing where we say, well, we erase the memory and then we write stuff over it, and then we erase it and then we write stuff over it. This is how hard drives go bad and eventually eat everything that was on there, which is why, dear listener, always back up your stuff. PSA, just, off the sideline, back up everything, because you do have that problem with the hard drive. And so you look at it and go, if they're treating them like memory hard drives, how many times can you really do that before something gets screwed up? And that's part of the show, is Echo starts remembering, and that changes who she is as an active.
yeah,
Jarrett, you haven't said anything in a minute. It's your turn.
I think the FBI agent is to my taste, the most compelling character in the entire series, because he's trying to uncover the dollhouse, trying to prove its existence initially, and trying to infiltrate it, trying to bring it to a screeching halt, because he knows it's wrong. The problem is, of course, he's got some trauma of his own, some temper issues and whatnot. But Ballard, to me, is sort of the key to the whole storyline, and it makes me it drives home the horror that these actives are, that Echo and company are suffering. These missions are really terrible and terrifying, and it's only because I think of Ballard's insistence, his drive to uncover all this mess, that because I don't know how you all felt about it, but the supporting characters were not all that comforting to me.
Agreed.
They seemed like what we have today, just like tech people running amok and running unchecked and doing what they want, playing God, and the chess pieces are all out there, and we're going to watch them move around the chessboard in really terrifying ways, violent ways. So I don't know. I think I think the series would have been a little more successful, or successful at all, if they had maybe focused more on Ballard, the FBI agent, trying to, uncover the Dollhouse
The truth is
program.
out there.
Yeah.
Well, and I was reading up some information on this, and an interesting network choice was that all of the dolls had to be young, fit, ideal looking kind of people, because in the initial drafts, Whedon had talked about, we could use various ages and various body types and sizes and all that kind of thing. And the network came back and said, we want young, ideal shape, fit, athletic, all that kind of thing. And that also gives you a certain kind of storytelling, because
Yes.
people that are going to look for a doll and are going to choose a doll that is somebody in their 50s that is 30 pounds overweight but is chubby and cute and is going to come and be just the best little grandma ever, that's a very different kind of storytelling, because young and fit and all that kind of thing is going to give you sexual encounters. It's going to give you action adventure stuff. It's going to give you something very different than if they really had played with the concept of, well, this could be anybody.
Yeah.
But having the young bodies kind of drives home that slavery metaphor. So I don't know. I feel like it could go any number. It could have gone any number of ways, but I think in this more commercial approach, it does allow for an exploration of of some of these themes that we've been touching on, dancing around.
Yeah, and like you said, there was certainly room for more. So I don't know. I did wonder why we watched this. That not everybody is obviously going to be into the same body type, and I thought about what if somebody likes the thicker person. You're not seeing any of that represented. Although with November / Melanie, which was played by actress Miracle Laurie, she had a less cocaine chic style of body, but even still, she was conventionally attractive and rather young looking for that one.
And that was totally a network decision. The network said, this is the kind of thing that we want for the dolls. And that is, again, that's a decision that very much shapes some of the stories that you're going to tell and the kinds of people who are going to be involved in the whole 9 yards. So it is an interesting, it's an interesting choice to go down.
Yeah. So what fascinated me was, like you mentioned with the quantum leap earlier, was the point of which she is, we're following Echo, but there are others, right? But the point at which they're all entering into these people's lives, it feels a lot less impactful. Like Quantum Leap, he was going there to make a difference. These ones, he was going there, they were going there mostly, power fantasy for men who could have everything. And, at this point they were just bored with life. So they wanted to try something new a lot of times. And that did take away from some of the deeper ideas of like identity and personhood, which could have been explored through that, because it felt so trivial. But I do think underlying that, those ideas were still there. Especially like I'm thinking of the episode, I think it was like season 1, episode 2 or 3, where she's they insert her as a profiler, with the kidnapped kid one. And because the person that she was templated from had trauma, that trauma is now her trauma. So they're inflicting that childhood abuse that we can't talk about on YouTube, but adult child, you can figure it out. And they forced that on her for that personality template. On the one hand, it did get the good. She did help rescue the kid and prevent it from a cycle from repeating. But the other, like, they needlessly tortured her, the agent, the active. So it was interesting, like mixing all of that up.
Well, and it's an interesting difference between something like this and The Matrix, where The Matrix, you go into the loading room and you can learn skills and all those other kinds of things that are all part of it. The whole I know Kung Fu thing. And with this, they can't just create the impression you get is they can't just create personalities whole cloth. They have to get them from somebody else, and then that's what they put on top of you. So you do get all of these leftover things, which can be really overwhelming. It's why they end up at the back of the blank slate, and why it becomes so horrifying as you get different ones that are remembering things and information that is coming through as you go from experience to experience.
Yeah. So the other one, which I thought was interesting, which we see a lot in cyberpunk, which I think is where this got the classification for genre, but the over powerful like corporation. In this case, I think it was like Versani. It started with an R. I can't remember the pronunciation, but the corporation that ran the Dollhouse.
Rossium.
Rossium. Yeah, there we go. And so I did think that was an interesting take, and I don't feel like we ever really got an answer or payoff for the clear abuses. Like we see that the lady that's running it, and then the blonde guy that I feel like I've seen that, but like he was just a sociopath. There were no redeeming qualities about that guy, and we didn't see anything where he get his comeuppance. Like, you know, we got someone investigating us. Let's just go kill a federal agent in the form of Paul Blosser. It started with a B. Ballard. There we go. And then he's taunting Echo in a couple scenes where like, I'm going to send you to the attic, or I should just kill you because you're too much trouble, because people like you too much. I'm like, this dude, like, you know, we're expected the guy that's hunting girls in one of the episodes is a bad guy, but like, how is he any different than some of these corporate players? And that moral gray, I'm not a huge fan of. I like good to be good and evil to be evil.
I think that a lot of it is an emergent system that is logical and rational, even if it isn't necessarily creatively satisfying or morality play clean. Where if you're going to have a whole bunch of assets operating a service that is brand new to everyone and is deeply expensive because it is brand new to everyone, you have to do it in a prestigious and an exclusive way, which means that everybody involved is going to be young and beautiful. And then having power over a host of exploitable and exposed young and beautiful people, the will to power is going to lead to sociopaths being in charge, because the people who are really interested in protecting those people care less than the ones who want to exploit them. At the end of the day, that is the way the balance of power works out. And everybody down in the middle thinks, well, I can justify what's happening here and live with myself, because if you don't remember it, did it really happen to you? Right. And you get a framing that to some degree or another is satisfying to people who are fundamentally moral. And our scientist is fundamentally moral. He's just willing to overlook an awful lot of discomfort out of his scientific curiosity.
Does that make him moral at that point?
What's that?
I did not think Topher was a moral character.
He is a moral character. He's just willing to overlook a lot.
That
he has lots of pretenses and he has lots of justifications, but his curiosity, his appetite for curiosity is overwhelming to his willingness to empathize. And then you have a doctor who is doing her best to take care of people. And this is the best she can do. And she is otherwise disenfranchised. And she stays and she does her job because she is doing the best she can. And this is her justification for being involved. And all of these roles and all these characters are absolutely emergent human behaviors. It's perfectly natural for them to end up here and only here. I would have a really hard time saying that there's any other way that this system is actually going to happen if this technology were to exist.
So I've got some complaints with your thoughts on this. First off, I don't know that the Doctor is the best example, given what we've learned later, and we're spoiling the hell out of this. It's like 17 years old, people, but the Doctor is a template too. We find out that Alpha killed the original Doctor, who was a dude, and then they just implanted his skills on an active, so they had a doctor on house that now they don't have to pay. So she's a slave by default because she's not getting paid. 2, she doesn't really have her own agency. She's a programmed set of whatever.
What she believes is that she does. And that personality is an archetypal personality that says, I'm going to go live in a terrible system and do my best to make it better with the little piece of agency that I have. And that's not necessarily immoral. It's just part of how
really agency if she was programmed to behave exactly that way. There is no deviation from the norm.
Well, I think that Joss is arguing that they all have personalities underneath this. You can't wipe a soul. She's a human being who has beliefs and motivations that are that are fundamental to who and what she is that you can't overwrite.
Yeah, it's in the first bit of dialogue there, that first exchange. With the,
Yeah, I don't know, like, because yes, you could say that there's underlying personalities, but every time anybody exhibits anything, they wipe them and start again. So
Except the
is it
doctor.
really? We don't know that they're not wiping her and starting again. A lot of that happens behind the scenes and you find out through exposition. But my real problem was with Topher, because your justification of he's insatiably curious and he's overwilling to look a lot. And by that explanation, we can justify every cruel experiment the Nazis conducted.
No, you can
How is
say,
he
I
any different?
understand how that happened. It's different. If you can't look at the Nazis and say, I understand how that happened, you can't fight it next time. All you're saying is that's not rational. It can't happen.
No, I expect humans are crappy people. I've seen them at their worst. My problem is I just don't see Topher as a good guy. I look at him as
No,
like
I didn't say he was a good guy. I said that he was underneath all of his justifications, a moral person.
How
He's
can
just
you be
willing
moral
to
in
behave
force
in
of
immoral
people?
ways because he has other interests that he's willing to prioritize.
Then
There are
he's
very
by
few truly
default
evil people in the
immoral.
world.
He's
Well, he's
immoral
not-
if he can ignore his morality.
well, he's not amoral. I mean, he has a moral code. It's just grotesque to us.
Yeah, I don't see how he's anything but an evil character in my estimation of watching the show.
Yeah. Well, he's sort of the Frankenstein,
Yes.
Dr. Frankenstein, who has a moral code, but is just warped and leads him into strange avenues.
But at least Dr. Frankenstein's only experimenting with dead things.
Yeah. Right. Galvanizing them into life, sure. But but I go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh no, I'm just saying. Yeah, Frankenstein is kind of Mary Shelley kind of hovers over the this whole series.
Yes.
The idea of science run amok, and but now we have to deal with what has been created, and we're going to muddle through and try to figure out how to coexist with entities that are essentially personalities layered over blank slates. It's pretty
we're basically arguing the concepts of moral relativism versus extreme absolute ethics, which is a critique I saw in a lot of some of the reviews on Amazon where I bought my copy, which I don't think is necessarily wrong.
Right.
I guess I'm more of an absolutist than most because I don't like the gray.
Well, that explains why the show was not a huge commercial success. It's probably too much.
Yeah.
Might be too much.
Well, that and Fox put it at the Friday at 9:00 slot where all good shows go to die.
Well, Fox is where all good shows go to die. It's the most mismanaged entertainment.
But Friday at 9:00, right after Top Model and some of those other things, you're not going to get the holdover the audience. I only saw it because at that point, my stepsons were being. We called it a hostage exchange back and forth between us and the ex. And so when the husband would take the kids to go forth and do the hostage exchange, I had nothing else to do. And so I would watch Dollhouse. And it was a nice way to spend that time. But if I hadn't been doing that 9 to 10 o'clock hour, I probably would not have seen this because, I was working full time. My work started early. Staying up and doing that, I would rather read a book. So a lot of this, and I think that hurt a lot. Not knowing the concepts hurt it a lot. And then again, it is very gray and it's exploring all these things, and it didn't have the space to do it. It has the same problem that Firefly does, is in 13 episodes, there was so much that was introduced that had no time to really come together. And here, by the time that the first season was done, they were not getting good ratings. And they were really afraid that they were going to get canceled. And the only reason they didn't is that the network came back and said, well, if we cancel this, then I'm going to have 110 million angry Joss Whedon fans who are all going to email me tomorrow. So we'll give it a green light for one more season and see what he can do. So from the beginning of season 2, he knows that they're on the ropes. And so it jumps in time, it jumps in tone, that it gets to a lot darker tone. A lot of things happen that we don't get any back explanation for because we've had this huge jump. And so it's telling kind of two versions of it in two time frames and trying to tie it all up, because I think he had a really, really good idea that he was not going to be able to come back to this except maybe in comic book form or writing later. And so there's a lot we don't explore that probably goes into some of these things we're talking about, but there was no space for it.
So there was when the show ended, there was the graphic novel comic / trade paperbacks that were called Dollhouse Epitaphs, which was 2011, 2012. It is unclear from what I can see, because I've never actually read these, if the trade paperback is just the comic or if they actually novelized the comic as well. But there was a follow-on property with it. But like you said, it didn't really get room to grow. But Fox has that problem in general. They get a good thing going and then they kill it before it gets its legs underneath it and be like, why wouldn't you ride this horse to the finish line? It's because you've already killed it. And so like I DVR'd this one, and there were plenty of times because of the time slot where football pushed the top model, which pushed this, which means I didn't record it. I recorded something else, etc. And so like, this is one of those ones that, and of course the Nielsen ratings at the time could not account for DVR as views. They just didn't have the technology to track that, because it was localized to your DVR box. But so what were your thoughts on the ending? We've come over some of the moral issues, and I do think all of them are interesting in their own right, but you could almost spend hours on any individual one of them, because at this point you're talking philosophy more than a TV show. And those are interesting. This would have been a fun one to break down in a philosophy class in college or an English lit class, because we did this kind of stuff. But I'm not sure how entertaining that would be for the masses. So instead, what did you guys think of the ending?
Jarrett's making faces, so you get to talk about it first.
I didn't really understand the ending. I mean, it seemed very open, you know.
I know, and some people say it felt like it gave him closure, but it was so open and rushed and uneven that I felt like it just dropped. I'm like, wait, that's supposed to be an ending? I was shocked when I found out it was canceled and we weren't going to know how everything ended. So I didn't feel like that was a satisfactory conclusion. I hated the ending. And I hated Joss Whedon and Fox for doing that to me.
You could almost substitute like multiple seasons of Altered Carbon as the ending for this.
I've never seen that show. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's same premise. You take a personality and put it into another human body, and the super wealthy can now live forever in a body of their design and choosing, and the poor hope that they don't die because they don't get to be rebooted. And it's the emergent nature of the technology. It starts out as an elite thing with, we're going to shop out supermodels to the rich, and then it becomes a commodity that everybody is going to fight over because it has the potential to give you immortality. And once you make the jump from it's a product for the wealthy to it's a weapon, you end up with a dystopia. And so this is the dystopian conclusion to the story that got started with the technology at the beginning. And you don't get any of the ride in the middle at all, other than that maybe there were some people who kind of guessed that this was going to happen and have been trying to fix it all along in the background, but we didn't get to see any of that. And now they're still fighting to try to fix it at the end.
So this is
this huge jump that, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jair.
This for me is as creepy of a concept as the show The Island was. I think that was actually a movie, not a series, but basically like everybody's a clone for body parts. And they think, they're down there for some post-apocalyptic, protect them from the whatever upstairs. It's been a while since I've seen the show, but basically it's, body parts for the rich kind of vibe, where, if you're rich enough, you could do anything. But the other thing that was interesting to me is because once you start doing that kind of stuff, the question that I always want answered is, at what point in time you stop being you? B.V. Larson does it in his Undying Mercenary every time they do a reprint of your body and uploads you into it. Are you anymore? Trek covered that a lot with the teleporter I think a lot of other shows have covered that various concepts in science fiction. The whole transhumanism thing is really a discussion of when you stop being human, when you stop being you. This one did it a lot less surface level, and I just didn't feel like Dollhouse covered it as well. And I enjoyed the series. I wanted more, but there were definitely, because it ended too soon, there were parts that felt unfulfilled. So, okay. Did you guys have any other closing thoughts as we bring this home? Dear listener, if you've watched this or you have your own thoughts, questions, be sure to put it in the comments. But any closing thoughts from you guys? Because I feel like
I thought Olivia Williams was incredible in this series whenever she was on the screen. I think that was the act. She's the director of the.
Yeah.
DeWitt, and DeWitt is what a character, and I feel like Olivia Williams is she's acting at half speed because of what's revealed later on. I feel like she's almost muted in this performance, but still so powerful. And I mean, you have to remember her performances, the actors' performances in Rushmore, The Sixth Sense, I believe. And there was another big movie that came out around or just before this series. But what an actor! And she's almost too good, I think, and makes some of the other performances seem a little, shabby. But I don't know if anyone else noticed that or had any other actors that they thought were. I thought Topher's, the tech guy's performance was great throughout. Very, very unsettling.
I thought the actor that played Boyd, the handler for Echo, was compelling. He kind of skirted the line where some days he was the good guy, some days not, which was part of that moral relativism that we discussed earlier. But overall, I still kind of liked him. And I don't know. I thought he was a underrated character in the series. I suspect because everyone was obviously looking at the pretties, but I think he did a good job as a supporting character. So, Chloe,
I just like how I see all of these actors. Like, there's so many really long-standing careers that this is the first time I bumped into that face, and I pretend like they're dolls.
Okay.
Nice.
Jana, closing thoughts?
I think I enjoyed it when I watched it. I'm not sure that I would enjoy it as much now. Just, where I am in life is a very, very different thing. And we do have a lot of these questions that I don't feel like are managed in a satisfactory way. So it's that whole thing about when you go back to rewatch something and you know what the ending is. And for me, the ending didn't work. It was left open-ended. I think they were hoping that they would get a last minute, the fans love it, we're going to get one more season. And so they tried to close enough things to kind of have it closed, but still left enough open to try to say, where are we going to go there? And I don't think that ever works. I think you have to have the bravery to either say, this is probably the only run we've got and close it off. And then do something else if you get another season, or you just say, this is kind of where it is. But so to rewatch it, knowing that that's where it's going to end, I don't know if I'd want to do that. But there is some great acting. There's some fun scenes. There's some interesting stuff. And we do get to see a whole lot of friends come back from his other properties, which is something else that Joss Whedon does a lot of, is you were so good on these shows, so let's bring you over, and let's bring you over, and let's bring you over. And there were people that crossed over from Battlestar Galactica that he knew. And so that was kind of fun to see a lot of people we've seen in other roles doing their thing.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it looked and sounded great. Also, the production was terrific. I didn't really see a drop off in production quality.
No, I didn't either.
Yeah, that was pretty consistent.
It helped that as compared to some of Whedon's other stuff, this was set mostly contemporaneous to us now. Like, I mean, they're not using any crazy future tech. They're not going back in time for a medieval setting. And so I think that made it, the world building and the ability to make it look good, a little easier.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's cheaper to film. I don't know the marketing and the budgeting and all that for Hollywood stuff, but I do feel like that gave it a little bit of room to work with.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the scenes in the woods were nice and pretty. It wasn't Canada for once, where all the sci-fi shows seem to go, and I really appreciated that we weren't in Canada. Some of
Canada's
it was
pretty.
even desert. Like I saw, desert sand and mountains for some of the scenes.
This may have predated the Canada exodus. I have to go look that up.
Well, I think Nikita was in Canada, or filmed in Canada, right?
I was actually more referencing to the jokes from the Stargate franchise because it was filmed. A lot of the sci-fi was filmed there, just because the company that owned it's a Canadian company, and so Sam Carter's character said all these alien planets seem to look like Canada, and it's just a one-liner about sci-fi. And I think part of that is, of course, the idea that bipedal thumbed creatures are going to exist in a similar environment, ergo it's all going to feel the same. And I've seen that cop out for forehead of the week excuses from Star Trek.
Well,
And it all tastes like chicken, so.
Doctor Who assumes that Britain is the only particularly relevant political player in any Earthling policies.
Yeah, I mean,
Which is always funny.
yeah. So, all right. So, what about you, dear listener? Do you have thoughts? And if so, we'd love for you to share them with us. Email us, comment where we share it on Facebook, in our Discord, which is active. We've got Aaron of Big Water Outdoor fame, who shares lots of fish recipes. So, if you're watching us over the summer and you want to know how to cook up your fish, he's going to hook you up with some recipes. And I'm going to have to try some of them myself. So, with that, Jarrett, what are you writing at the moment? And then how can we find you on the wild, wild interwebs?
Well, you can find me at jarrettkeen.net. You can see all my books there, all the books that I'm trying desperately to sell. And I'll be appearing at the Western Writers of America conference in St. Louis, Missouri this weekend, well after this has aired. But
Okay, I did. Go ahead.
Good. And what I'm currently writing is that superhero horror trilogy, Breakers, for Dark Wolf Books, and that'll be out in August. And I'll work with you, JR, and getting something together for that.
So we did get since your last appearance, we did get some people ask if you were going to be doing more in your drone books.
Yes, I'm signed up to do. I signed a contract to write 2 more for the press. So those will be out sometime, or this time next year.
Awesome. And so we're recording these in June. So looking at June 2027, dear listener, because we never know when you're going to find us as far as what episodes you watch when. All right. So what about you, Chloe? What are you writing? And then how can we find you?
I am in the middle of an Academy series that I last touched in 2021, and I've been reading all of the books backwards because I thought I just need to pick up where I was at the end of book 7, right? So I read all of book 7 and I'm like, wait a minute, there was a really major event in book 6 that's feeding it. So then I read 6 and then I read 5 and now I'm reading 4.
As one does.
I'm having a great time with my Surviving Magic series and building that out. And then I have had complaints that it's not fair that the series doesn't end. And I think that the Academy readers care more than my other readers that the series must end. So I'm trying. This is going to be the series that I figure out how to end a series. Looking for me, you can find me at chloegarner.com. Sign up for my newsletter to hear about when I've got sales and new releases out. If you want to read what I'm thinking about writing and about stuff that's relevant to the writer's world, I've got blog posts there that are long form essays of thoughts. If you want to actually interact with me as a human being, my Facebook group is my favorite place on the entire internet. All
right, Jana. I know life has been lifing you lately, but what are you reading at
goodness, has life been lifing? No, life has been lifing, and right now I have an anthology that will come out next week that is on Sand and Storm, so it's Creatures of the Desert, and the authors for this did a really, really good job. Some of them look like people here, like JR and I. So that's a fun one that's coming out. And then I've got 3 more anthologies that will happen over this year, and that will kind of conclude my series of the extraordinary beast anthologies, and then we will do a new theme starting next year because I like doing anthologies and it's fun. So I'm doing those. I am working on the Diana McDonough book, which hopefully will get out here in the next month or so. Again, if I can get life to stop lifing me quite so hard, that would be nice. And those are the things I'm going to commit to at the moment. I have a whole bunch of things. If you looked at my screens right now, there's like 700 tabs open on various things, and a whole bunch of them are word screens that are this thing I need to come back to, and this thing I need to come back to, and this thing that I'm kind of interested in, and this thing that somebody said, hey, you wrote a paragraph about this at one point, is that ever going to be a book? And so I have a lot of things floating, and now I need a little bit of focus. I need a sprinkle of focus in my thing. And you can find me at linktree, linktr.ee/Opal Kingdom Press. That links to all of the things. Or you can come to the press directly, or you can look for either of these 2 pen names on the internet. If they have to do with publishing, it is me almost all the time. I am the loser at internet hide and go seek, so you can find me. It's not hard.
All right. And you can find us, dear listener, after you pause and please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books, so do your part. It really does make a difference. And if you're reading any of Jana's anthologies or any other anthologies and any one story stood out to you, mention them by name. The authors will love you forever. And reviews really do make a difference. And that was the worst segue to the reviews because my mind said, wait, what was I going to say? And then it like paused and I'm like, oh, buffering. But
it's been a day. Goodness.
Yeah, now that that's out of the way, you can find us, dear listener, on our Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumble, the YouTube, the TikTok, the Twitters. We've got our Spotify, our Discord, our Substack, our Blasters and Blades Facebook group and Facebook page. You can email us at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Again, blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com for professional purposes only. People save the shenanigans from Stabby Stab over there on the Instagram, Twitter, and the email. These episodes aren't free to produce, and we really do appreciate your patronage. And if you want to help support the show, go to buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment sections for the podcast, and I promise I will help keep the lights on and my friends duly caffeinated. One of these days, I will convince Jana that brands other than Dr. Pepper exist, and maybe, just maybe, she will drink Dr. Pibb on air, or Mr. Pibb on air. Maybe.
No. Oh, okay. I'll put it this way. If somebody pays us enough, then I will drink a Mr. Pibb on air.
All right. And with that, I would like to thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades Podcast. We'll be back next week at the same time, where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and all things that go boom. And with that, we're going to hit the end button. Thank you for coming on, Jarrett, Chloe, Jana, as usual. And with that, wait for it.